Hey viewers, and welcome back to the channel. I'm getting ready for another overlanding trip, and I've got some new gear that I'm just got set up. I'm testing out. We're going camping, overlanding down in Kentucky again this weekend, and today it was minus 6 degrees. I think Friday it's going to be 14. So last time I went camping it was about 20. I have a Mr. Buddy propane heater hooked to a grill tank that I took, and it did keep my tent warm, but there was some concern that if something hit the front of it, it'd catch on fire. It was just me in the tent, so I wasn't that worried about it. This time I'm taking some other people, so I invested in one of the cheap Chinese Amazon Vevor diesel heaters. Now I've got it up and running, and it seems like it's going to be great, but getting it up and running is not the easiest thing in the world. It does not come with a power plug on it, so you have to source the right kind of power plug, and then you've got to worry about amperage and all of that stuff and how you're going to power it, and it's not super clear on what that looks like. But once you get it all figured out, it seems to work great. I'm going to go over what I did to get mine running and what I have as a backup, so that you'll know what you can do if you're going to pick one up. And then of course I'll go over some of the stuff that I'm getting ready for the trip, and we'll be doing a full video of the trip, so see you soon on that. All right, so this is the I think it's 8 kilowatt Vevor diesel heater. I got it on Amazon for about $100, and it has a remote right here. It's got a screen on it, and there is an app that you can download to control it remotely as well. Once you get it all plugged in, it's pretty simple. You literally just hit the power button right here and then adjust your temperature, or use the buttons on your remote after you've filled it with diesel. The problem is that the cable comes with just 2 open wires like this. So you've got to wire it yourself. Now, you could be plugging it into your truck. You can plug it into a 12-volt battery. I wanted to use my ECOFLOW. Now, what this says is your supply voltage needs to be 12 volts and 15 amps. 12 volts, easy to come by. 15 amps, trying to find a DC power port that's 15 amps locally was impossible. I had to order mine on Amazon, and it basically came with this wire with open rings on the end, which I cut off, soldered together, and then heat shrinked this together. Now, simple enough, that part, if you know how to do those things. If you're gonna wire this together, I would suggest soldering it and using shrink wrap, not wire nuts. You can get soldering kits and how to watch videos on how to do that on YouTube. It's really simple. You know, the thing is hot, so make sure you don't burn yourself when you're soldering, and don't forget to turn it off. But once you have that together, that part's pretty simple. All right, so if you've never done any kind of wiring before, I'm going to just give you a quick tutorial on how to solder this together. I'm just going to use some old speaker wire. This is not what came with the heater, but basically the cable that I had, these 2 cables were already pulled apart, so I'm going to very softly and gently, carefully split those 2 wires apart without damaging the casing, and then I'll pull them apart a little bit further. And then you're going to use a set of wire strippers. In this case, I have some built into my linesman pliers here. I'm going to strip that off. Now, I'm just going to solder these 2 together. I'm going to pull them all the way apart. This is not what you would do for that wire heater, but this will show you how they solder together. You're going to want to match your color. So in the case of this heater, you've got red and black, black to black, red to red. And then once you get these opened up like this, you're going to take some heat shrink tubing. You can get this at the hardware store, on Amazon, whatever. I'm kind of out on my medium size. And you want to put this heat shrink tubing on before you solder this together, otherwise it's too late. In this case, you know, I'm just doing a little piece of wire, but you're going to want to put on before, otherwise it's too late. All right, and then what you can do is you take the 2 wire strands and you kind of press them through each other like that to kind of mesh them together. And then if you can twist them, that'll be even better, but it's not easy. You want to get them in contact as best you can, like that, right? Right, I already have my soldering iron heated up, and then I just have some basic tin lead rosin core solder wire. It comes in this cool little case, and I'm just gonna lay my wire on my little soldering spot here, and then you're gonna touch this hot soldering iron to the wire and then melt the solder into it, turn the wire over and do it again. I've got the wire here, and I'm going to take my solder, I'm going to just touch the wire and touch my solder to the soldering iron, and you're going to get a little bit of smoke and that solder will melt, and you want to get that into the wire and coating it as best as you can to help hold that together, just like that. Okay, being careful not to touch the soldering iron. You want to try to roll the wire over so that we can get the other side, like that. Try not to breathe the stuff, probably not good for you. And then you can kind of spread that around as it's hot. Make sure you don't set your soldering iron on the table, and then you've got a soldered together cable. Once it's cooled and hardened, you shouldn't be able to pull that apart. And then what you'll do is you will slide your shrink wrap down onto, so where that's in the middle, and then you're going to hit this with a hair dryer, a lighter, a heat gun, and this probably won't because it's too big, but the right size will shrink down onto that and protect it against shortage and water. And that's how you want to solder together and attach your cable. This is the strongest and safest way to attach it for your diesel heater. Got just a cheap heat gun from Harbor Freight. Does the few jobs that I need to every now and then. And I'm just going to apply the heat, and you can see it shrinking. This may not shrink to the size that we need because it's too big for the wire that I had, but I'm out of the size that I need for this. Now you don't want to get it too hot and burn it, because it will burn. I think that's about all the shrinkage we're going to get. And you can see now this fits a lot closer. It's still not sealed. This is the wrong size tubing, but if you get the right size tubing, this will be a tight seal, and water won't be able to get in there, and it doesn't come apart. And there you go. Water won't be able to get in there, and it doesn't come apart. The concern is that this, my ECOFLOW River Pro 2 or whatever it is, this supposedly, the DC power port on this, according to the instructions, states that it only outputs 10 amps. So there was concern on whether or not that it would start this up. This draws most of its amperage when it's starting up. And you can see it's running on this right now. It started up just fine on the 10 amps. So it will run, at least the model that I have will run on this, on 10 amps. Now, just to be safe, because it's going to be 14 and I'm going to have heat dag on it even if it kills me, I bought this off of Amazon. This is a AC plug, outputs DC, and it outputs 15 amps, 12 volt. So this will definitely put out enough voltage. So I'm going to keep this as a backup just in case. I did initially fired this up with an extension cord just to get it running, and then I tried this, ran fine on the AC converter, and then I shut it down, let it run through its shutdown process, and I've plugged it in direct to this, and it seems to be working fine. It's definitely putting out plenty of heat. Once it's started, the volt or the amperage goes down, so once you get it started, you're over the worst of it. Now, when you receive this, the pipe doesn't come on it, so you do have to install your ends, hose clamp, and then underneath of the heater, there's a exhaust pipe and a fresh air intake. Those have to be clamped on that's the fresh air intake. Right now I have the exhaust clamp or the exhaust pipe running outside, and then for whatever reason they didn't design the feet with enough clearance to bend the exhaust pipe, so I just mounted little pieces of wood down there to lift it up off the ground. But once I had all this wired out and tested every power source, it works fine no matter what. $100, keep you warm. You can heat. You could wire this into your garage. I'm thinking about mounting it on the wall over there, running a hole through the wall that's insulated to run the exhaust outside, heat the garage with it. It takes up a lot less space than my Mr. Buddy, but pretty cool setup. There are multiple ways to power the heater depending on what you're wanting to hook it up to. If you have a extra battery system in your truck, you can hook it directly to a battery that's 12 volts and will output 15 amps. If you wanted to hook it up inside your house, you can go on Amazon and you can actually purchase like a block. Now, I couldn't find one that was AC cable attached with cables going out for the DC. It's basically a block and you're gonna have to wire it yourself. So however you order this thing, it is gonna require some basic wiring skills. I mean, black to black wires, red to red wires, know how to solder, how to shrink wrap or protect the wire so that it doesn't short out, and knowing a little bit about setting up your amperage and your voltage correctly. But you could power it from an AC power adapter. You can get them on Amazon that will put out the correct correct power, and then you could run it from inside a garage or something like that, as long as your exhaust pipe runs outside. So you could technically, I could drill a hole in the wall over here and then get something to make it insulated, because the exhaust pipe does get hot. It does come with like an insulative sock on it, but I wouldn't trust that in my wall. So I'd find some kind of way to insulate it so it's going out, and I could just mount it on the wall over there, plug it into the wall, pour some diesel in it, and heat the garage with that. So it just depends on what your placement is, and I guess that's why they send it without a plug, but it would be nice if it came with one. So when you order one, figure out how you're going to be using the device, whether it's from a solar generator like I'm using, or direct wire to your truck, or inside your house, and order the correct accoutrement to set it up. Otherwise, you're going to spend a week and a half like me driving around trying to find parts, and then realizing you got to order from Amazon and hoping it all comes in time before you go on your trip. So, a little bit tricky, but I think it'll be well worth it as long as the longevity of it lasts. I mean, this thing's putting out heat, and it's compact, and I'm super excited about taking it camping. It's a lot safer than my Mr. Buddy over there, and you're not putting any carbon monoxide in your tent at all, so you don't have to worry about that. I'm still going to put a carbon monoxide detector in the tent just like you would in your house in case something breaks on the heater, but yeah, definitely safer, because it's not supposed to be putting out any carbon monoxide through the heat pipe. That goes out an entirely separate pipe. So that's kind of my take on the Vevor. I'm going to be using it on this overnight camp trip. It's supposed to run all night on a tank of diesel. It's looking like my solar generator will have plenty of power. It's at 45% right now, and it's saying like 7-something hours running off of the DC port. So, you know, fully charged, it'll definitely run all night off of that and keep us warm. So thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. I will be posting shorts and then eventually a full-length video from the upcoming trip, so please check that out. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Kentucky Petrolhead, over and out.